Welcome to the official, unofficial Sea of Thieves podcast, a podcast dedicated to Sea of Thieves and other rare games, but mainly Sea of Thieves. This episode, we again have a very special guest. It feels like we are getting spoiled after just getting Mike Chapman, but hey, we are not complaining. But before I introduce our amazing guest, I would first like to welcome my lovely co-host.
Hello, guys. It's a tiny Ray today. I'll probably be in the corner at this point. Happy to be on and happy to be back with this fantastic guest.
Hi, are you excited?
I can't even turn around and say no, jokingly. Of course, I'm very excited.
All right. I'm also very excited because our amazing guest today is the man behind the music of Sea of Thieves and also some other rare games. It's the one and only Robin Beanland.
Hello. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, how are you doing, Robin?
I'm good, thanks.
So we know who you are, but could you explain your function at Rare to our listeners?
I'm Robin Beanland. I'm the music director at Rare, and I've been there 30 years, actually. It's Friday just gone. So I've been there since, 1994.
Yep. That's funny that you say that because this month, I think April 5th, it's the day you're working exactly 30 years at Rare.
That's right. Yep.
So how do you reflect on that time?
It's just, it's gone in the blink of an eye, really. I say it doesn't feel 5 minutes since I was sort of driving up that up the driveway at Manor Farm, which is sort of the old. We're in the new building now, so the sort of the Rare farmhouse, and driving up that long driveway and thinking what's in store, and it's just I don't know, it's just a magical place to work for me, and I love it. I love being there, and it's the people are fantastic, so sort of creative and inspiring, and just it's that thing of just hoping you can do their work justice with what you do, and I think that's kind of that's a big part of Rare, is people sort of getting inspired by each other and trying to make their work as good, and make next time I sit at the piano trying to make a better job of it.
Because can you tell me a little bit about your first day? Were you looking for a job? Did you just send your CV out to all companies that would take it, or did you actually wanted to work at Rare?
So it's an interesting one. I'd tried sort of about 2 years before I got the job at Rare. I tried to sort of I sent like a demo tape to various games companies, and the sort of landscape around then was sort of Amiga 500, Commodore 64. So I'd borrowed somebody's Amiga 500, and I'd made a demo on that. And I sent that, and I kind of just got like the standard replies back. I got a few replies that were okay, and one place got me down for an interview, but nothing came of that. But then I got a really nice letter from a guy called Martin Brown from Team 17, and he sent me a really sort of encouraging reply, just saying, really liked your demo, however, you're unlikely to get a few 100K in a game because I just did like a demo and he said, it sounds like you really need to sort of get the hardware and get to grips with it. So that was kind of my first kind of attempt at getting into writing music for games. And then I worked for a composer in Leeds. I was like an assistant to him, a guy called Chris Norton, and he did a lot of TV stuff, a lot of library albums, a lot of sort of general MIDI programming for Roland and things. And I worked for him, and I did quite a lot of that for probably about 2 years, and sort of started to build a showreel up. I got access to his studio, and it was my brother actually who showed me Edge magazine, an advert from Edge. This company are looking for composers, so I just put my showreel together, my tape, a cassette tape, back in the day, and sent that in, and got a letter saying, please, can you come and attend an interview? Can you also, they set a brief of, can you write some music for a racing game and music for I'm trying to think what the other one was. It was kind of like an atmospheric just an atmospheric piece of music for a game. So something for a racing game, something for something sort of atmospheric. And I did that. Took that down with me. Had the interview, and then about a couple of weeks later said, "Yeah, you're successful. Please start on the 5th." Which was about a month. I had about a month left of work with this composer in Leeds, so I had to do quite a few sort of sessions in that to sort of clear my work. And then I started at Rare.
Did you specifically want to be a video composer instead of a movie or series composer? I
tried to sort of I did do TV stuff, and I did a couple of series of a kids drama for Yorkshire Television, and I really enjoyed doing that. But I think the thing with games was it was always like, I mean, the sort of work I was doing as a freelance musician was things like, I remember doing a sausage advert once for Mr. Lazenby's sausages, and it was like, so that, you know, sort of the content's not that sort of inspiring, I suppose, really. Doing the TV work, it was, you know, some obviously there's some great dramas and things out there, but the sort of work I did, the sort of day-to-day stuff, was like industrial videos, something for ceramic paint for battleships once I did some music for. It's like, so it's kind of a bit dry, I suppose, whereas games is kind of quite exciting, and the subject matter is a lot more kind of appealing to me.
So it's more a creative aspects. You can be more creative as a video game composer.
I mean, first game was Killer Instinct, and it was like, this is amazing just to be able to work on this, you know. And I had no idea what I was going to be working on. Then Dave Wise revealed, okay, because me and another composer called Graham Norgate started at the same time together.
Yep, so I wrote in my script.
All right. Yeah. So we started on the same day together, and we had no idea what we were going to be working on at all. And then Dave finally revealed, because it was still incredibly secretive back then, you know. It was that, and we had like a key to get into the music block, and that was it. We couldn't get to see anything else. And then we eventually got told we were going to be working on a fighting game, and then, you know, eventually we got our key, got us into that block so we could sort of talk to the team there. But it was
Did David have his own room as well?
We were like in the sort of a stable block. We all sort of had a room. And in fact, initially, me and Graham, we shared a room together. So we had there was like 3 offices, and there was Dave, Evelyn, me, and Graham. Excuse me. And so we had to sort of play on headphones and then take it in turns to play over the speakers. And eventually, I got the office next door, because I think that was being held for something else. But then they said, "Yeah, go on, you can have it," you know, because it was kind of makes sense. So we all had our own sort of play spaces.
Yeah. You're saying 4 composers. At what time did Grant come in? Like later than you then?
Yeah, Grant was he 96, I think?
He did some music. I'm a bit confused because he did some music for Project Green. And your first game was Killer Instinct for the N64.
For the arcade.
Oh, arcade. Sorry. Yeah, so sorry. Obviously. Yeah, obviously.
No, I think Grant was probably about 18 months later, I think.
Yeah.
Because obviously I don't know if you know, but we knew each other prior to Rare, so we played in bands together back north in Leeds. So we knew each other really well, and he was like, I think he was playing with a band called Little Angels, and when that split, and he basically got on the phone to me the next day and said, "How do I do what you're doing?" So I said, "Right, you need to get yourself an Atari ST, you need a multi-timbral sound module, you need to get a copy of Cubase, and then start writing some music." And he'd spent quite a while sending tapes into Rare, and then got an interview, and then he got the job as well. So
we got you to thank for Grant working at Rare.
So he says, you know. I mean, he's pretty talented, so you know, I guess I was an in.
That's quite interesting, because a lot of talented composers come from Rare or worked at Rare, like David Wise, Evelyn Fisher, you, Grant Kirkhope. Would you say Rare attracts these talents, or Rare develops a culture where that talent can flourish?
The latter, for sure. Yeah, I think that's true to this day. really. I've just been saying on an email this morning, it's for me, it's like I can't think of anywhere better where people can learn, grow, and flourish. Basically, what you just said. I feel like it's so purely creative there, and you're just so encouraged to sort of just work to your strengths, and grow. And you get, when we get the time to do that, which is, I'm incredibly fortunate to be able to do that.
So in that way, you inspire each other as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I mean, going back to when I first started, and Tim and Chris took it very seriously. They always took audio and music very seriously. I know it can be a bit of an afterthought for a lot of games and companies, but they always, Chris Stamper's quoted many times as saying audio is 50% of the experience. So they was very keen to have everything sort of in-house and not contract out for it, and not do it, not sort of get to the end of a game and go, right, we could do some music on this. It was always like that from the start, and that's continued to this day. Yeah. We're in from the start, and things like, I suppose a good example of that in Sea of Thieves. I can't imagine the shanty system existing if that had been a case. Right, we need some music for this game now, because it is so kind of entwined in the game, and the whole it was a lot of work to get that going. And John Vincent, the audio director at Rare, wrote the code for that, so he got that all, got it all to work. That whole sort of thing of, if I pick up the hurdy and I'm playing the melody and a backing. If somebody joins in on the concertina, they accompany me. But if I stop playing, they take over the melody, and it's all synced over the network, and it all works in a 3D environment. So that's a no small amount of work, and I'm not sure that would have happened if it was like 6 months before the game comes out, we need some music. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think, and it took a lot of. It's not just the writing of it; it's the implementation and getting it working and keeping it working. Yeah. So I think that's just an example of those things that happen. Wouldn't it be cool if we could do something like this? That Rare will go, we'll invest the time in getting that to work and see how it feels. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah. So the shanties, you developed all the shanties, then, right? And somebody else made the technical aspect work of it, right?
Yeah, the thing, because at Rare, in the audio corridor, there's basically John's at one end, I'm at the other, next to the recording studio. So we constantly can come and see each other, and it's very sort of easy to iterate on the ideas of various things that we want to try and get going. Katie Tarrant is also sound designer. She's also started writing code now as well. So she did helped me a lot with implementing some of the music for the Monkey Island update. So there was a lot of things like the battle. What is it called? Is it battle? The sword bants thing. The sword. Where the tune was playing, and every time you struck with the sword or landed a hit, you got a chord, you got a sting that was correct chordally to where the chord progression was in the tune at the time. So Katie got all that to work. So it's that thing of, we're all sort of sat together in the department, and it's very quick to sort of iterate on stuff and get things going and try things out. So shanties, it basically was, can we have shanties in the game? And then it's like, me and John went away and just trying to think about how we would go about that, and what the sort of logic would be for playing shanties together.
Yeah. Do you guys get drunk for the drunken versions?
We talked about it. Yeah, we thought, well, it could be quite cool. But initially, the irony of that, because initially I thought, right, I'll just try and play duff notes and play it wrong. And it just sounded a bit strange playing it on the hurdy. It just sounded like a bit of a sort of avant-garde piece of music. It didn't sound drunk. And then got the idea of putting it through auto-tune. So the irony being that we were taking something that was in tune and pushing it out of tune to make it sound drunk. And that immediately we started laughing when we heard it back, because it's so, some of the notes are just sort of out and sour and out of tune. Some of the notes are wrong, but it kind of follows the form of the in tune, but it's just slightly out, and it's kind of like that. And that was way funnier than just playing bum notes.
Yeah.
If I can jump in quickly, I was going to ask how you actually managed to pull that off, because it sort of reminds me of, when you're a beginner and you're learning the guitar and you start to learn how to bend, and you don't realise that you have to bend to pitch. And it sort of reminded me of when you're sort of over bending and you're sort of go up a step or a half step too high or what have you. No, I was just really impressed on how you guys managed to do that and get it to sound, just sort of off, but not really, really bad. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we were going for, and it was because it was making us laugh that we just thought, oh, that's definitely the way to go with it. The only thing that didn't work on was the drunk whistling. It just we thought, right, stick it through auto tune, and it was like, just sounds a bit strange, doesn't sound right, and then. I think because John McMurtry whistles the in-tune whistle, the sober one. John Vincent does the drunk one. And I said to John, why don't we just have a go where it's somebody who's so drunk they can't actually form so it just kind of comes out like, and they get the odd note now and again, but they're just so paralytic that they can't actually form the lips to make a whistle noise. And again, that was kind of like, yeah, that's funny. We'll go with that.
Interesting. Was there a long recording day, all that whistling?
A long recording day? What, doing the shanties?
No, doing the whistling.
What? I think it's just generally find out when John's free, and then we book the studio and he comes down and does it. John McMurtry's an incredible whistler. He's really good at it.
Okay. So we'll invite John on next.
Yeah, he's really good. He can do a really tuneful whistle. And then the drunk one's not really that hard. It's, it's just...
Okay. Staying with the chanties, are there any chances of us getting some new instruments?
Never say never. I mean, it's just we kind of we've got like the bowing, which is kind of the hurdy. We have the pluck, which is the banjo, and we have accordion and the drum. So we kind of have, I suppose we have everything we need there for a sort of like an ensemble. I mean, potentially we could do it. I mean, it's a lot of work. That's the only thing. It's because you have to do like you have to do a backing, you have to do a lead, you have to do a drunk version, and then it's times however many shanties as well. So it's no small task to add one in. So it's time permitting, really. It's like, it depends what other stuff we kind of have going on. We've talked about it.
So when we get a new one or a new instrument, we know it has been a slow day. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, but it's just like we've got a window of to do it. Yeah. It takes more than a day.
So I can imagine. I can imagine. So it's not just the music you do, right? You're also responsible for all the sound effects. Is that correct?
No, not me.
You're not.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm just music now these days. I used to do sound effects back years ago, but now I'm just composing now. So we have John Vincent, the audio director, who's sound design, Guillaume Muller, Jamie, Katie, Shadrach, all doing sound design for Seath. Okay. Yeah, and then me and Chloe doing the composing.
Right, gotcha. Because you said you did sound effects in the past, right? Wasn't there a lot of sampling, like using samples in the N64 days, or did you create your own stuff as well then?
A bit of both, really. We set up a mic and record stuff, but also, sample instruments and things like that. And then, I mean, the last game I did sound effects on was Conker's Bad Fur Day, so that's N64, so it's quite a while back.
Right. Conquest Bad Fur Day, the sound effects, they overlap a little bit with some other rare games from that time, like Jet Force. There's some like the rockets shooting. Like I remember that being the same, or the bullets that coming. I'm like, oh, that's the same sound effect I hear on Conquest Bad Fur Day.
Yeah, there's a good chance of that. I mean, it's probably from the same sort of sound effects CD at the time.
Yeah. Do you remember what CD that is?
Oh, no idea.
Okay.
No idea. Like the rocket launcher you're talking about in Conquer. I've no idea. It could be. There's a Hollywood Edge. Chances are it was Hollywood Edge or the Sound Ideas 6000 series, but I've no idea.
Okay.
No
idea. Nowadays you're trying to create everything sound effect wise.
Yeah, I mean, we still have a sound effects library, and we share with the whole sort of Xbox org as well. With everybody's bringing content, and that's shared amongst the other studios. So there's a wealth of stuff in there. Yeah, so it was a mixture back in the N64 days of like some sound effects libraries, some recording with a mic. So things like, and we would make our own instruments as well. So you'd have to make an instrument and loop it, you'd play a C, loop it, play a G, loop that, and then build an instrument out of that that you could then play on the keyboard. So a good example is the trumpet on the bull fight in Conquer. That's me playing the trumpet to kind of get that sort of mariachi style vibrato, and then looping it and then playing it on the keyboard. So now it's a case of like I don't know. It's years since I've done sound design, but it's a mixture again of sound effects libraries, but also recording a lot of real sounds as well, and mixing them and making signature sounds for the game.
Gotcha. It's too bad because I had a lot of questions with the sound effects, but
well, you should get John Vincent on or Guillermo or anybody who wants to.
It's just another reason to get more developers in the podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be happy to do it.
Something you can answer then, because back then in N64 days you were very limited.
Yeah.
Now you're not, or are there still limitations?
I mean, there's always limits, but it doesn't feel like it now. I mean, it certainly was. You used to have to try and squeeze everything down and compress it. And there's still an element of that now, but it's nowhere near. You can't hear it really. It's pretty lossless. But it used to be like you'd have to sort of squeeze everything down to like 16 kilohertz. So if you think of something like a CD quality is 44, then majority of the sounds we put into the N64 were 16. Maybe a 22 now and again, but not very very often. And you probably go 11 as well. So that's kind of it's more than sort of half the quality.
Yeah.
Whereas now it feels pretty limitless now, really. I mean, there's not been anything for quite some time now when I've gone to John and said, can we do something like this with the music? And we've managed to do it. There's not been any kind of limit, really. Mm-hmm. Just the imagination.
Because sometimes you hear that limits are good for creativity. And now you can do everything. Does that limit your creativity, or
so
fun?
That's an interesting point, and I think certainly in the past, and Grant said this too, we sort of agree on this, it's because we didn't have any memory and we couldn't have sort of like these big lush sounds. The only thing we could rely on was a melody and sort of trying to write a decent tune. And something that could play for hours and not get annoying, hopefully. So that, I suppose that in terms of that limitation, it sort of helped me hone my writing and my scoring to try and write an earworm. And I think that's carried forward now, because I know there seems to be it's not fashionable to have melodies and themes anymore in sort of film stuff a little bit, but I for me, it's just I love to have a good melody or a good theme, because I sort of feel like that's 50% of the job. Done. Then if you've got a great sort of something that you can call back on, you can use it in so many different ways and reharmonize and do some really nice stuff with it. So I'm still a sucker for a nice melody and a theme.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, especially in video games, right? And like you don't really have music playing, like earworms playing where you're just playing CFDs, but like the shanties, like Rock Mails, for example, just sticks in your head and doesn't get out. Same like Windy from Congress Bad Fur Day. I still whistle that every week, so you did a good job on that one.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, the thing with Sea of Thieves is something. So there's that element of like wanting to have themes, and it's having those moments where the game presents something that we can lean into with the music, because one of the sort of first sort of pieces of sort of feedback and a brief, I suppose, was we don't want to infer an emotion the player isn't having. So I remember very early on writing some ship combat music. So then when you got in proximity with another ship, we could start firing up this ship combat music. And Greg Mails was like, we really don't want to do that because we're not sure that's the intention. Whereas, people may just want to get together and play shanties together. But if we start firing up this sort of like amped up combat music, they're going to just start shooting cannons at each other. So that's why you don't really get ship combat music other than the Skelly ships. You see what I'm saying? It's that kind of thing of like, and we stripped it right down to just having a sting that would play for your player. So if you fired a cannon and you hit another ship, you would get a sting to announce it. I don't think the rest of the crew hear it. It's just you hear it to say you've landed the shot. Now, whether you intended to or not, you still did, so you get the sting for that. But that was that kind of thing of, okay, so we don't want to infer any emotions that the player isn't having. So that's why you get a lot of music that kind of feels like it's just sort of blowing on the wind, almost like certainly on like the sort of the islands and things like that. But then we get those moments where we go, well, this is definitely happening. We are definitely sailing towards a Skelly fort, so we can start to sort of do that thing with the music where it's kind of layered and it kind of gets a bit more. The energy starts to rise the closer you get to it, and if you sail away, then it'll dissipate. And then when you land on the fort, then the music starts, because you are definitely doing that.
Yeah,
I think you really personified what I sort of thought when Season 8 came out and you had the different tracks for the Guardians and the Servants, where, like you say about the emotions, when you sort of come out to battle as a Guardian, you feel like you're on the right side of the Sea of Thieves and you're saving it. And then when you're a Servant, you're like, feel a bit evil and like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, but it's still really exciting anyway. That sort of juxtaposed into the...
So that all of that is Chloe Kwok wrote all of that. She did all of Season 8. Absolutely fantastic job. Just basically what you just described there. It just feels those two emotions. I think she absolutely hit the nail on the head.
It's interesting. I've never really thought of it that way, that... like you said there, the not having the ship combat music is because you've got the open choice in Sea of Thieves, where you can fight people, you can make friends with them, you can alliance up, or you can just have a chit chat. I've never actually seen it in that perspective as to why there's no combat when you come across another. Oh, sorry, no combat music when you come across another player. That's a really good insight. Yeah,
and the other what's another example of that? The shark music. So. Again, that was something that we triggered when you were in proximity, and it was Mike Chapman said, "Can we not trigger it until you've taken a hit from a shark, and then we can trigger it? Because I don't want players going, oh, there's a shark in there. I want them to get in the water and actually have to look around for it, and then if it attacks, then you get it's like a shepherd tone that keeps rising and rising and rising for the sharks." Which I played on the nickel harper. So I just bowed a note and just kept sliding the note up, and then got various other notes sliding underneath it, and it just sounds like it's constantly rising when you loop it. It sounds like it's constantly going up. So it was that kind of thing of just trying to keep that tension constant, but only when you get the first attack from the shark, the first hit. Prior to that, you have no idea there's a shark there because you have to look for it.
So, and Mike loves a jump scare. Then we know that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That takes me back to the 2017 E3 trailer where you had, I guess, a mixture of your music across it. Where I think that the shark music was in there.
That's right.
I'm trying to think. Is it the Voyage of the Secret Shrine? It's called that piece.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that was quite a focal point with the sharks when they're in the shipwreck, and they're like sort of circling the shipwreck and what have you. It's all starting, as you're telling us this, it's all starting to sort of fire off memories, and it all fits together nicely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think in the trailer we did just play it when they were in proximity, but yeah, actually in practice you won't ever hear that music until you've taken a bite. I'm trying to think. There was another example of, I think that I had something where I thought, oh, maybe I should play something when you hit rocks and your ship starts to take on water. And Greg was like, no, don't do that, because people will just wait for the music before they go and repair, whereas we want them to go check. And good call.
What was the choice then with the sirens to have them playing? Was that more of a thematic theme? Because obviously the sirens are meant to sing, aren't they? Whereas when the sirens spawn compared to the sharks, you get that audio cue straight away, rather than, like you say, it doesn't play until you've been attacked with the sharks.
I think that's just so you can always locate them, I suppose. Because it's not a threat, I suppose, is it? So it was just so you could always locate wherever they were. I don't know if you notice with those, you get, that's another one that's kind of interesting. You get the singing from a distance, but as you get closer to them, you get the orchestral backing that comes in, and they're correct with their melodies are correct against the backing.
Wow, I didn't know that, and I certainly didn't know that about the Monkey Island stings matching with the music as well. Gonna have to go replay that now. Thanks, Robin.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, it was a lot of work that went into that. Katie did a fantastic job with it.
You said you used the nickel harper?
Yep.
I'm not familiar with that.
I don't have it here. So it's kind of like a hurdy. Let me grab the hurdy.
Please do. It's kind of leaning into that as well. So.
Let me just put it. I always have to make sure that it's I just need to put that down a bit. Ooh. Can you see that? Is that right?
Yep.
This is brilliant.
So like with the violin or any kind of like cello or viola, you've got a fingerboard, haven't you? Mm-hmm. And the way you change the note is you change the length of the string. So halfway up is an octave. If you make the string half its length, and it's an octave higher, and that's. So basically, for this, it's not, instead of a fingerboard, you have these tangents that run up in semitones. Right on. I've got two strings playing. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, we can see.
You can see that. So you're just changing the length of the string. So the nickel harper is the same kind of idea, but with the hurdy you have this wheel. And with the nickel harper you use a bow. So I do have a bow here. So you use a bow on the nickel harper. So that enables you to sort of play dynamics and play quiet and loud on the nickel harper, whereas on a hurdy you can't really do that. It's either on or off. If you try to play quiet, it just kind of it doesn't really, you can't, it's just sort of the note's there or it isn't. It's kind of, you can't really go louder really. It doesn't really adjust the volume. So that's kind of the difference between the two really, I think. So they both have their kind of qualities, let's say. Yeah.
So awesome seeing the hurdy-gurdy like that. Is that yours, Robin's, or is that Rare's hurdy-gurdy?
Rare's
yeah. Hurdy-gurdy.
Yeah. So it's It's made by a guy called Neil Brook in Lancashire, and I rang him up. Did a bit of trawling around the internet for different hurdy-gurdy makers and things, and I found this guy Neil, and I had a call with him, and he just said, "I've got these different hurdies available," and he described this one, and I went to this one because it's got 3 drone strings, 3 melody strings, and 2 rhythm strings. Plus, it's also got a jack on it as well, so you can actually plug it in.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So you can plug it into, it's just got a mic inside it. So you can, sometimes I'll use a mic and a jack out the back, but sometimes I just used the jack. In fact, for the season 11 front end music, I used just the jack output on it for that.
Wow, that is so bloody cool.
Because you had to learn to play the hurdy-gurdy, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I tend to sort of just do enough of a melody because you can. I don't have time to sort of. I mean, first of all, we didn't want it to sound too good in Sea of Thieves because it's piratey. We want it to sound piratey. That's the whole sort of thing with Sea of Thieves. But also, it's like I'm just not gonna. I'm not a great player on here. I can just do enough. So I could go record that bit and then go right the next section and play that bit. So it's I mean it's not too hard to play because you can just press a button and you've got the right note. Something like a violin is a lot harder because you've got to have that muscle memory to know for the intonation.
Yeah, you have to play it drunk too, right? So it's easier.
Yeah. But yeah.
How are you doing the vibrato then, Robin?
So you just got a certain amount of bendage. But the great thing about it is you get all that sort of noise, it just sort of helps the piratiness of it all.
Another thing that I sort of not figured out, but realised the other day that when you jump while holding an instrument, it makes that sort of noise as well. And they all have unique ones. And like you say, it sounds like someone's jumped up and down with a hurdy-gurdy or a concertina or what have you. Yeah, just really cool details like that obviously you and the sound team, I don't know if you might have done those sound effects, but...
I think I'd have to check, but I think that was Guillaume, I think, who did the sort of like the sort of reacts. I think I might have recorded a few bits for him, and then he got it to work.
Those little tidbits of instrument noise, I think, is what makes the soundtrack really stand out. Iconic is probably the word, isn't it?
That's very kind of you. Well, I think that's the thing. It's just trying to, that everybody, the whole sort of the sound team all up, are just trying to make it sort of feel really bedded in the world, and that was always a thing with the music, to make it sound piratey. Joe Neat very early on said, "What would a pirate orchestra sound like?" So that's kind of went away and thought, well, what would it? It wouldn't be. They wouldn't be able to play that well. It's just kind of just about getting around a tune. Not virtuoso sort of style.
It wouldn't sound right either, would it, if you had a full-on orchestra that was sort of narrating your pirate game and there's instruments that are being played that didn't even exist then, and it would feel too grand, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of we do lean into those moments definitely for certainly all the sort of tall tale things. We get those bigger kind of orchestral moments, but we also wanted those kind of it to feel part of the universe and the world. And that whole thing of, one of my pet hates is that sort of repetition you get with game music, where you go in a level and the music starts from the same point every time. That same piece of music starts, and that's one of the reasons why we have on the island tunes where there's bits come in and out. They're just random. There's a whole sort of folder of files that you can pick from. And it just randomly plays out. And if you go to this area, if you go into a cave, you get something different. If you go underwater, you get something different. So it's like it's like populating the game with all these little pockets of music, and then like the player also almost becomes the arranger of the music, because they go, well, I'm not going to. It's not a linear format, is it? So the player can go, well, I'm going to go over here and go and do that instead. So, and you just have these sort of bits of music in place that can sort of serve up the tone, I suppose, for that moment, which I really like. I like the idea that, you know, we use this software called WWise, and we can sort of set all these different parameters on the music and get it to randomly play and wait between, say, like 10 or whatever duration you want, but you can say wait between 10 and 30 seconds before you play the next thing. And then this has priority over this and that. So it's that sort of thing of music having a life beyond me. Once I've finished recording it and composing on here, it goes into the game, and it has all this sort of random behavior that I really like. It has a life of its own beyond the composer.
It definitely feels like that. Was it your idea to have the different stings depending on which region you're in? Because obviously you've got the caves and the water stings or what have you, but if you go to the Ancient Isles, you've got more like a sort of Caribbean theme with the steel pan, and then you go to the Devil's Roar and it's the brass. Was that yourself?
Yes, yeah. So yeah, we wanted to sort of really define those different areas. And the sort of the thing, again, talking about that repetition, because when you get and we started off, you know, you get the banners come down and you get a piece of music. That got tiresome fairly quickly because it kept playing that same piece of music. So you'll notice that when you go to a different sea, you'll get the banners and a bit of a grander piece of music. But for any island after that you come across in that region, you'll only just get a dum. You won't get the full thing until you go to a different sea, and then it'll give you the full fat one, and then it'll go to the smaller ones. And that's just one of those things because you're sailing around so much and those things are happening all the time. It's just that thing of like that's starting to grind a bit. Let's change that up, and that's the advantage again of being just down the corridor from John and playing it and iterating and going, okay, this feels like it could get annoying if it's constantly firing off, so let's address it.
Did you notice that, Blubber?
No.
See,
but it's true. Like you say, and like, yes, of course. Like it feels different, and like you said, like 50% is music, and music adds a lot to that. So.
Well, that's the thing. I think it can really draw attention to itself if it's not careful, and that's kind of it's satisfying for me that you didn't notice that's what was going on because it's not a platform for listen to this wonderful music. It's a platform for just immersing you, the player, in the game.
Well, it's obviously worked because if it played the big sort of sting every time, you'd get annoyed with it, wouldn't you? And you'd certainly notice that. So it's the opposite effect, isn't it? That the fact, like you say, we haven't noticed it means it's doing its job properly.
We try to avoid that a lot of the time. We try to avoid sort of constant looping music, for sure. I'm trying to think of another example. Things like the ghost ships, I suppose, you kind of have three exposition pieces with that. So you get the intro, then it usually goes into a bit of a simmer, and you get the stings from your firing landing shots and things like that, and then you get to the next stage. So the simmer is we try to keep that really kind of light touch and just not too kind of tiring, really. And then go to the next stage, have a big moment, take it back down to a simmer until you get the final stage where you feel like you're going to overcome the baddies, and then you get that big sort of moment, and then again into a simmer until you get the final sort of sting to say you've done it. But it's that thing of trying to just avoid stuff, kind of, because you could be there for like half an hour.
So some players are.
Some players are. Maybe back in the day.
That's great. Anything you can tell us about the upcoming music? Like we had this preview event. I'm sure there's some great music with the Burning Blade.
I'm just in the process of writing that.
Okay.
I can tell you that.
I'm very excited for that, I have to say.
And I can't tell you a lot more about it because I'm only just, I'm still sort of in early stages of that. So I tend to sort of sketch on a piano sound. I tend to sort of start off with just chords and melody with most of the stuff I do. And then when I land on something that I feel like that's kind of the foundations there of a theme and chord progression, then I'll sort of take it to the next stage of, okay, let's build it out for orchestra and do all the different sort of orchestral parts and stuff.
I'm interested.
Yeah, go for it. Right?
I'm interested to see how that sort of theme is going to progress, because obviously you've got the sort of motifs and leitmotifs for different characters, and with Flameheart we saw Seabound Soul was that more ethereal sort of choir sort of vibe you went for. And then you had obviously the Ritual of the Flame, Heart of Fire was sort of more brass focused, sort of matching with the Devil's Roar. And then we went to sort of Ritual of the Flame, and obviously that was Chloe who did season 8. Yeah. That was more sort of almost like he's coming back and in his physical form, and it's more raw and almost like he's more present. I'm interested to see how that takes another step up.
You just could boot it out again, but we'll wait.
I can.
Oh no,
I'm back. Could you hear what I was saying?
No, you cut out.
Season 8, I think you got.
Okay, so basically you went from the ethereal of Seabound Soul, and then it was more physical and present in Heart of Fire, like a build-up. Then we saw in season 8 we had like Flameheart is more present, with him actually being back in the flesh. I'm really interested to see how that sort of progression of the motifs is going to be personified, sort of with the Burning Blade and what have you. It's going to be interesting to see. That's all I wanted to say, really.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, that. So that sort of goes back to if you have a melody, then you can do those different sort of treatments on it. So I mean, the first time you ever hear that melody is in the trailer, isn't it? The first trailer we did with the We Shall Sail Together. So it's like that melody, the da 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 da, plays it underneath da, 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 on the final bit with Flameheart. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing of having a theme and a melody that it's like, well, we've now got that, and we can use that, and we can give different sort of treatments of it, and that's why I love having themes and melodies, really.
Do you ever look at something like that and think, okay, we've done this, and that, and now we have to take it a step further and sort of iterate on that theme? Is that ever scary or difficult to do?
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes it is. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah. Where can we take it next? Yeah, I mean, yeah. You don't sort of compose yourself into a corner, but you usually find some way to sort of give it a treatment that's what you're after for the the whatever bit of the game you're scoring for. But yeah, I mean, sometimes sometimes stuff just lands in your lap, and other times you have to sort of work at it.
Fair enough.
For me.
Fair enough.
But I suppose the thing is, I just work at it. I think it just. I remember Diane Warren. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, being interviewed years ago. She's a multi-million selling songwriter, and somebody said to her, what's your process? What's your secret? She said, I just turn up. That's all I do. I turn up every day and I think that a lot of composers are like that. You just turn up and work, and then something usually lands. Sometimes it lands quicker than others, you know.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So what would you say is more important for a composer, like inspiration or dedication?
Oh, I'd say it's equal measure, I suppose. Okay. Really, yeah, I think so. I think you need both, I think. Yeah, because I know there's some people that some composers I know who are incredible, you know, but they probably could got further than they have done if they'd just applied a bit more.
Okay.
There's a couple I can think of.
For some songs you were quite clearly inspired, or it just came to you, like the Rock Mills chanty, is that correct?
Yeah. So that was just wanted to write a tune about Greg, really.
Because he deserves it.
He deserved a shanty, I thought. He already had his pirate name at that point. I thought, well, that's a good starting point. So, Yeah, so that's a tune that started on the piano.
Okay.
And just kind of dun 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 dun, and just sort of hit something out on the keys and went, yeah, that sounds okay, and then transferred it to the hurdy. And that was with the shanty. It's interesting because we did look at trying to sort of use traditional shanties early on that were already available. I suppose we do use We Shall Sail is a version of Drunken Sailor, but that's the only one that we use as a traditional shanty. And we did look at all the other sort of shanties that are out there, and it just felt like it was just a bit dry, if you know what I mean. It felt because I suppose traditionally they're work songs, aren't they? So it's just to pass the time on the ship. And it's like tonally it just didn't feel right for us. We wanted it to feel like just a bunch of swarthy drunken pirates who were having a bit of a laugh, really, and making tunes up. So that's why that came about.
Because We Shall Sail Together also has lyrics.
Yeah.
Were those written by Chris Alcock?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So do you often work with Chris on music?
Yes, often. Yeah. He's usually sort of go, here's the tune. Can you come up with some lyrics for it? And he's very quick. Okay.
Well, he's the guy that does everything. It seems like writing stories for Monkey Island or writing novels for Sea of Thieves and helping out with the music. Anything else he helped you with music-wise? Because I only know the lyrics for We Shall Sail Together.
We Shall Sail. I wrote the Grog Mells one, but that was because it was just like the first shanty, just to try it out and go, this sound all right, kind of thing. And so yeah, he did Be Calmed as well. Wrote the lyrics for that. He's written all the lyrics for the Christmas releases we've done. Bosun Bill has written lyrics for that. He's like Bernie Taupin to my Elton John.
That's great.
Did with you had the Tales from the Sea of Thieves book, didn't you? And you have the lyrics to forgive me, the siren song. What is it called? Blubber, help me out here.
The Song of the Mer people, the Mer song thing. No,
yeah, that one. Were the lyrics created and you already had an idea of the sort of theme? Because obviously that was released several years after the book, wasn't it? Or did you just have to write the tune around the lyrics?
That was actually Chloe again. That was so she saw those lyrics and she said, "I've really fancied just writing a bit of music to these lyrics." So that's exactly how that came around.
And then is it John McFarlane did the vocals for that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had to go.
You had to go, did you?
Yeah, I had to go. She said, "Go on, can you sing?" I said, "I can't sing." She said, "No, go on. You'll be fine." I said, "Well, I'll have a go at it, but I don't think it'll be very, very good." And it wasn't.
Chance of that being released then?
It's probably on a hard drive somewhere, but
stays there.
Forbidden music.
I'm quite happy for that, never to see the light of day. Yeah.
Is there any game, could be Sea of Thieves or a past game, where we can hear your voice?
I'm trying to think where I've. So I mean, actually, the rare ident. Na, 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 na. I'm there with Anna and Leah.
So what was that you said?
You know the rare ident when you first boot up Sea of Thieves.
With the trailers as well.
Oh yeah.
So I'm in the mix there. The shipwright humming is me.
Okay. Nice.
Really? Oh, wow! Didn't know that.
Which one?
She just hums like the shanties line.
Nice.
Now I can hear it. See.
It's great trivia. This is great.
Is there any other bits?
Like a grunt, maybe somewhere.
I mean, I am one of the. Yeah, I think what's the guy in the pirate hideout?
Legendary Luke.
The
Blind Bob.
Blind Bob. That's me. I think.
You're Blind Bob.
I think so. Everyone's a critic. Is that yeah?
Everyone's a critic.
It could be, yeah. We'll have another listener.
I can't remember the lines, but yeah.
We have a lot of Blind Bob's fans in our community, so.
Thanks for coming. Try the grog.
Yeah, we have a lot of Blind Bob fans. You're right; they love him. Even you should have seen their reaction when he finally got dialogue, because he was one of the NPCs that didn't have it for the longest of time, and they went spare over it. They were that happy he got lines, so they're going to love this.
That was me. That Shad got me to say, "Rob and John, have a go at these lines." So, and I'm pretty sure I was on the back end of a cold, so my voice was a lot lower and croakier. I'm trying to think what the lines said. The only one I remember is "Everyone's a critic," because I got really tied up recording, going like, I don't know how to say this word anymore. Critic. Everyone's a critic. And I was thinking, because he wanted to sound sort of more broad Yorkshire. Everyone's a critic. And I was just going, I gave this take to Shad of like me saying critic, and that's the only line I remember. If that's him, I think that's who it is, isn't it?
Yeah. I can hear it now. Blubber, make sure you play some Blind Bob voice lines for the viewers.
Oh my god, you're giving me extra work.
Extra homework, yeah.
Care to hear a joke?
And I'm sure there's other stuff I've sung on and things in there. As part, but I often get people together and just say, "Can we just all hum this line or whatever?" So, I mean, that We Shall Sell. I mean, I'm in the crowd, but that's there's like Jamie Guillaume, John, Vincent on that, the Johns, John McMurtry, John McFarlane, Joe's on there.
Were you in Call of the Bells?
Yes, so that's me and the Johns on that.
That's a good track as well.
Yeah, that's another Chloe. That is, she did a fantastic job with that. I think that's probably one of our that's one of the most sort of popular sort of Christmas releases we've done.
The music video as well, and sort of the excitement of.
Yeah, it worked really well, that, didn't it? It kind of worked really well with the kind of up and coming and hinting at stuff. I think that was a really sort of good move.
I'm looking forward to Christmas 2024. Just to set the bar high for you.
Set the expectations.
Yeah.
Do you work early on music that needs to get released? Because you said now you're working on the Burning Blade music.
Yeah.
Like, is that always the case? Like a couple of months in advance, or?
Yeah, usually. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like, oh my god. Yeah, but for the most part, there's plenty of time to sort of, compose stuff.
And any music you did on a tight schedule?
I mean, some of the Monkey Island stuff, I think some of that was quite tight.
I remember, I think Mike came out. I think they were saying that you were still developing it quite close to launch, weren't you? Or the second one, something like that. I remember reading that on Twitter.
Yeah, I think LeChuck's the sort of battle music with LeChuck in the cavern. I think that one's kind of to the line a little bit, probably closer than I'd like. But for the most part, it's usually plenty of time to do it.
Right. Are you always happy with when it came out, or is there some music you're like, I wish I could change it a little bit?
Well, yeah, I'm generally. It's weird writing music. What's the saying? Art's never finished; it's abandoned. I think that's, you get to the point with something where you go, I'm just walking away now. But I'm pretty chuffed with most of it, really.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, obviously you go back now. I feel like, my sort of main ambition, and I just try to improve every time I, sit down at the piano. So it's the stuff from years back where I go, it's okay. I could have, if I did that again now, I'd probably do it different.
All right. Are there any projects you would like to work on again, or have another go at it?
I'm again, never say never, but I'm not one for looking back too much on sort of nostalgia. I mean, maybe that'll change, but I kind of like just looking forward to what's next and what, the new stuff I get excited about.
Like everyone.
Yep.
Before we hop onto that subject, I do have a quick question to ask Robin, and you might not be the person to to approve this. You probably have a say though. A couple of years ago, we had the release of the Sea of Thieves track on Sea of Thieves soundtrack on vinyl, didn't we? Is there any potential for another volume or a potential for the soundtrack to be released on CD, maybe, so we get that nice non-streamed quality?
I can ask. I'm sure there is. Yeah, depends on what we're allowed to do and whatnot.
Fair enough.
I mean, we're certainly constantly writing music.
It's hard to keep on top of that, isn't it, with physical products?
Yeah, I mean, it took quite a while to sort of put that together. So I wanted to sort of have the tracks segue into each other and stuff. I don't know if you've listened to it or not, but I wanted to have the music segue, and I had to write sort of in between bits and things like that. So it's all sort of adds time, but I mean, we do have lots of music, and Chloe's written a lot of music as well.
Just let us know who we need to ask him. We'll invite him or her for a next
Yes, please do.
It's a never-ending list. I've got another question for you, and I kind of want to ask this. We talked about music, but this one isn't about music, but about script writing, because you wrote the screenplay for Conquest Bad Fur Day together with Chris Seaver.
Yeah.
And I've seen interviews with Chris, and it's more than obvious that he had a hand in Conquest Bad Fur Day. I mean, he did all the voices, most of the voices, and you can tell, that's his vision in the game. But what parts of the screenplay, or maybe some jokes, can people point to and say, hey, that's Robin, that's hits?
So Conquer's an interesting one. So we never, so I've got a credit for writing screenplay, but we never had a script. There was never anything written down, which I think is part of the charm of it, to be honest. So because Chris was designing it, he had a very good idea of, well, the gameplay section is this, then this happens, and this happens. So we would go in the studio, and like we're doing now, put the door into record, and we just start making each other laugh. And what about this? What if you said this? What if you did that and that? And it was a lot of back and forth. And you go, yeah, that, and then you go say it straight away, in the different voices and stuff. And we'd refine it and iterate and go around it. So it was almost like loose. He had a loose idea of what the gameplay was, but we would just kind of flesh it out on the go, and just being recorded all the time. Then at the end of that session, for whatever sort of a bit of section of gameplay we were working on, then I would take probably like an hour, 2-hour session and edit that down into something that made sense according to what he basically I've got like a running commentary of what the gameplay is, so I could go, right, okay, this and this, and try and keep it as tight as possible, which I think really helped, because I suppose one of our sort of pet hates was having to sort of sit like this and watch a cutscene for ages. So we tried to sort of keep it very snappy and get the information across as quickly as possible, and hand control back to the player as quickly as possible, so they weren't just sort of sat watching something instead of playing it. And then so I would get that audio, edit it down, and then hand it over to, I think it was usually Andy Betts, who was animating the cutscenes or putting the cutscenes together.
No, Louise too, right?
And Louise, yeah, sorry, so Andy and Louise, but I think Andy put all the camera sort of cuts and things, and it was a group of people plugging into it. But yeah, and then I think that because we did it that way around, it was very snappy, and they just worked to that audio then, which helped a lot, I think.
So what you're saying is there's a lot of lines unused as well for that game.
Say again.
So there's a lot of lines unused as well for that game.
Oh, there's loads of stuff. Yeah, there's loads of stuff that's just, I mean, Chris sort of, messing around as well. And,
Okay. Nice to get that insight in that progress. Yeah.
A lot of outtakes.
I listened to them.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was it?
There's just a lot of stuff of him just, losing it and laughing and stuff, and not being able to do it.
It's still an impressive game as well because it had a lot of audio, like a lot of lines in it.
Yeah.
Feels like most in any N64 game.
I know the audio was 40 meg of audio all in on that, which is quite a lot for a cartridge. You can feel the weight of the cartridge. Because we had to go for a bigger cart. I think we went for the biggest one we could.
Wait, are you serious? Is it heavier?
You can definitely.
Okay, I'll have him. So
well, if you compare the weight, I'm sure it's yeah.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Because Mike Currington, the software programmer, he was the one who got the. He did a lot of really cool audio stuff on that, but he got the MP3 decoder working on it because it was, obviously to have something running with in-game that was decoding MP3 and running at a decent sort of frame rate.
Yeah. It's so impressive, that game. It's one of the most impressive N64 games, like pure on technical level, I think. It's amazing.
No, we were chuffed with that, to be honest. Yeah, we were. Mike did a lot of software for the audio. So he wrote me some sort of DSP effects. So like things like the Rock Solid Nightclub, he wrote me a distortion, sort of like to give that sort of 303 distortion that you get on a lot of tracks. That's all happening in. It's not a sample. That's actually distorting it properly through some of Mike's effects and things like the filter sweeps as well. That was Mike. He wrote a resonant filter that I could draw curves in and stuff on the MIDI data. He also, another thing he did was he assigned different MIDI controllers so that we could, in the Rock Solid scene, we could trigger the lights in time with the music and the snare fills. So that's all. There's like a track of MIDI data that just like control. I can't remember what controller number we used, but it would just say, "We'll assign this controller to do the snare drum," and that would make it so it would be exactly in sync with the music. So I would copy. So I would copy the snare part and then convert that into the controller that would trigger the light, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, so, yeah.
Yeah, and then that would trigger it, so it would be exactly the same point. So he did a lot of clever stuff like that.
It's nice. See, just when you think it's not get interesting.
He got Pro Logic working as well, Dolby Pro Logic working as well on the N64.
Okay, great. Great, so nice to know.
That whole kind of Private Ryan sort of section benefited from that quite a lot.
Great. Love to hear this. I really do. Let's keep that going because I have another question related. It's somewhat similar. Because you were also credited as support staff for Donkey Kong 64, and you were originally not on that main team, but it had to be released on time, so it pulled a lot of developers from other teams in. Yeah. So you also had a hand in Donkey Kong 64, but what were you responsible for that game?
I don't know.
Because I recently found out that Greg Mills was responsible, kind of responsible for the final boss fight when he got pulled in.
Right.
So I thought, that's very interesting. Maybe Robin has an interesting story to share as well.
Can't think. I mean, there was so many games at that point. I may have helped with something. I didn't write any music, and I didn't do any sound effects. I don't know. Really? Maybe it's just a little dot of the cap.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
that was okay. As far as I remember, that was Grant writing the music and Evelyn doing the sound effects.
Okay. Okay.
Unless I forgot. I don't know.
There's not always a interesting story behind the question. Yeah, let's bring it back to Sea of Thieves before we close off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, one thing I know already, but maybe the listeners don't know. You also made an instrument, right, for Sea of Thieves?
I made a what?
You made your own instrument for Sea of Thieves.
I do. What do you mean? Make my own Instagram.
you made the rhythm bones.
Oh, the rhythm bones. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So I know the story, but our listeners don't. So.
Okay. So, Yeah, so I made these rhythm bones. And I went to my butcher, which is just down the road from here. And I said, "Do you have any cow ribs?" And he said, "Are you making what you're making, spare ribs?" And I said, "No, I'm making rhythm bones," because I'd anticipated he was going to answer me this. So I had my iPad with me just to show. So I want to make some musical bones, rhythm bones. And he looked at me and went, "All right, now you want the flat ribs, okay?" He said, "Come back on Friday, and I'll have a bag of them for you." So I just went back, and I had this, sure enough, this bag of bone ribs, but they were about that long, and they still had, bits of meat on and stuff. So I brought them home, got them in a big pan, and boiled them off, and and then just got them out, and then just cut them down to what I thought was about the right size, and then just sanded them off, and here they are. And then tried to learn how to play them, because it took me about 3 days to sort of just trying to get. There's a thing that you can do. You get it's like you get like this triplet rhythm with them. See if I can do it. You hear that? Yeah. So if you get them right, you kind of get a free hit. Nope. Have to get the position right. You may need to edit this. Nope, I still haven't got it. Right on. There we go. So it's that when you come back like that, you get and it does a little bounce. Don't know if that was really loud or not. Probably is. But when I was trying to learn how to do that, because of that it's kind of getting to my ears quite a bit. So I put a pair of these sort of, excuse me. I put a pair of these kind of headphones on just to protect my ears while I was doing it, and I was just sat in the studio at Rare, and I was just kind of in between trying to learn it and driving myself mad. I was just going like that with the bones. I thought that sounds really cool, so I set up a mic and started putting. And that was the start of the Sea of Thieves theme. So usually, before I said I like to sit at the piano and get a theme and get a melody and stuff like that. Actually, that was the first thing I did for that tune, was that rhythm, just because I was just kind of just taking a break, and I just thought, oh, that sounds quite nice. It's not the way you would play them, but and I just layered and layered and layered up. I did about sort of 5 tracks of that, and then panned them around, and then put the melody to that.
I assume that's the original pair, is it?
It is.
The only pair you've had.
Yeah, I've got the rest. There's another pair at work, which I think probably play a bit better. I have since bought some, but I prefer the sound of these because they're just a bit gnarly. Kind of, the ones I bought are a bit smooth, so you can't do that with it. You don't get that. It's a bit silent. So yeah, for whatever reason, these ones are the ones that, to my ear, sound the nicest.
Has that come over time, or was it sort of immediately once you've made them, you're like, these are the nicest ones, or because you've been using them, they now sound better? Am I making sense there?
Yeah, no, it's just when you record them, those ones tend to sound nicer because you can get wooden ones, and I got some like other ones, some. I forget what I mean. The site, it was called, some website called drybones.com, I think, or something. And they were like sort of marine bones or something, it said. I don't know what they were, but they just don't sound as good. They've got more of a bend on them, so that's the only thing with these. They're a bit harder to play because there's not an awful lot of a bend. It's better if you can have a bit more of a curve because you get a bit more space between. But there you go. Got it back.
It's my new favourite Sea of Thieves instrument. Oh, add the cow bones maybe as the new instrument. There we go.
Yeah, I suppose that'd be fairly easy to do.
Are there any questions you still want to ask Ray, and then we can wrap it up?
No, I've said my piece. The big one for me was the vinyl release, and No, no.
So have you got the vinyl?
I do. I don't have my own turntable, but basically I've listened to it before on another turntable that's not mine, and it's a really nice hi-fi setup. The mix is amazing. Oh god, it feels different listening to it on vinyl, and I know that sounds really, I don't know, pretentious, but it just sounds really good on there. That's why I wanted another volume, basically.
Right. Well, it was. I mean, it was mastered for vinyl, so it was mastered intentionally. There's a little. Have you opened the vinyl then?
Yeah. I had to listen to it. I've looked at the storybook and everything. But yeah.
Have you looked at the rumble strip?
No.
Okay, that's all. I won't say anymore.
I'm gonna have to have a look now. It's literally on the shelf upstairs. I'm gonna have a look after this finishes.
Okay.
That's great. More trivia and more secrets.
Just one more question, maybe.
Yeah.
Because back in your Killer Instinct days, like the SNES card came with a CD, Killer Cuts.
Yeah.
If you were to make a CD now with the best of Robin Beanland, which tracks would be on that?
Oh. It's weird because the tracks that I kind of I'm most proud of aren't, people always go on about in like for Conquer, they go, oh, Rock Solid, incredible track. And it's okay, I suppose. I mean it was
it's okay.
It was an afternoon's work. It's not something I'd look at Windy and I think I'm really pleased with the writing on that. Whereas Rock Solid it was kind of we need something for this nightclub track. And so I went away and did something, but I'd like it, but people sort of like hold it in high regard, and I think it's okay. It's all right, I suppose. But I'd much prefer things like Windy, and I suppose there's some of the Jet Force stuff I'm quite pleased with. There's usually something on each game that I go, I'm really chuffed with, and I suppose it's nice to sort of see the progression. As a writer, I feel like I've got stronger as a composer. I'm still learning an awful lot about composing and trying to make a better job. I'm really, really pleased with that Season 11 tune that I just did for the front end. That's one of those ones that kind of seemed to come together really easily, and I really like the way it flows.
What would it be then from Jet Force Gemini?
Is it Torfret? The forest, is it? The swamp kind of thing? Music?
I know what you're talking about. I can't recall music, but...
So I was really... The thing with that tune, I was really pleased with that was because... when I don't know if you know, but when you sort of compose on a computer and a DAW, you have a grid, and it's like bars and beats. So you normally play to a click track and things like that. And that piece of music, I just went off grid with that. I didn't play to click. I just sort of played free, and just let it kind of evolve. And it was harder to write like that because you're not sort of coming in on a certain click and a measure when you're trying to drop in and record. But that's one of those things where it's like just sort of not just ignoring click and just letting it flow to how it feels right to your ear. I was just like really pleased with how that piece of music turned out. But there's quite a few on there that I'm pleased with. Because I got tasked by Tim to sort of look at the. He said that I want you to sort of look at the music on this and try and come up with something different. And it was my attempt at trying to sort of do an orchestral score on an N64 cartridge, which wasn't easy really. But so that's maybe something that would be nice to revisit. To do it with like better quality sounds, or hear an orchestra play it, that'd be amazing to hear that. But yes, but Torfret, the Forest World, I think it is. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, I only played it once, so
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure there was ever a release of that. There's been vinyl releases, hasn't there, since? Yeah, but I mean things like Mr. Pants I really like. The game.
You did Mr. Pants for the Game Boy.
Yeah, I was really pleased. They really had a lot of fun writing the music
for that.
Okay, cool.
Because there's a band called the Cardiacs who I really liked in my sort of teenage years, who were a bit sort of wacky, and I kind of was heavily influenced by them for that, and it was just fun to do. It was just good fun.
Okay, cool, nice. Another game I need to replay then.
But very, very simple, very sort of simple tunes and stuff.
Yeah, it is very cheery, Mr. Pants.
Yeah, a bit quirky and stuff. But I mean, I'm often with me. It's just like I'm really enjoying Sea of Thieves at the moment. I'm just really, I'm always kind of where I am now and what I'm looking forward to doing next. That's what I get excited about.
And one thing you're doing next, and I'm closing on this. It's Everwild. I don't know what you can tell, but I'm going to ask it anyways, and then you can choose. What are the feelings and emotions we can expect music-wise from Everwild?
All I can tell you is that I'm definitely working on it.
Mike would say more, but I
didn't.
That's fine.
And Chloe is too.
Right. No, that's nice to know. I didn't know that. That's nice.
So Chloe's doing some. I mean, the voice on Everwild. The trailer, the sort of teaser thing, and the vocal. That's Chloe singing.
Okay. Nice. Thanks. More trivia. I love it.
And on Thingy, in Sea of Thieves, Who Shall Not Be Returning. That's Chloe as well. She's got an amazing voice. And Be Calmed as well is Chloe.
Still waiting for the Beano versions, I'm telling you.
Nobody needs to hear those, I tell you.
I'll get a hashtag going now.
Grog Mails on the vinyl, that's me.
All right.
Oh, okay. There we go.
So that's me doing my best pirate voice. Best attempt at a pirate voice.
That's why it's a collector's piece, isn't it? Not just all the art and stuff. It's got actual recordings of Robin Beanland singing.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, so that's that was fun to do, that side of the vinyl with the
when they're in the tavern.
Within the tavern, yeah. And Chloe put all those sort of in between bits together, and John McMurtry did a load of. I said, "Can you sort of intro the songs?" And as though and he did he just took that idea and went with it and did some really funny stuff. So
see, now you know why I'm pestering about another release of it, or another volume, should I say?
So what of new music?
New music. It's just that vinyl just sort of blew me away a bit. It was I'll stop talking about it now.
Okay. Yeah, we're running over time. Very much appreciated, Robin.
You're welcome.
We've come to the end of the podcast. I want to thank you properly. Thanks, Robin, for being on this podcast.
You're very welcome. It was really good fun to do it.
If people want to follow you and your work, where should they go?
I have Twitter or X, whatever it's called. So there's my name on that is @TheRealBeano. I tend to sort of post most stuff on there. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, not so much. And I'm not heavily on it these days. I've tried to sort of limit a bit of the social stuff.
Well, you're busy with your work.
Well, it's just try to be a bit more present with family and stuff. So, but I do tweet now and again and do lots of liking and things. And
often a nice beer or breakfast sandwich.
Yeah, or a nice picture of my dog. Usually, a lot of pictures of my dog.
Right. So if you're interested in beagles, right?
A lot of beagle. There's a lot of beagle action.
Okay. And if you want to follow us on Twitter and don't get any updates, you can do so at Best Cities Podcast. Looking at you, Ray. Link to that will also be in the description. What you can also find in the description is a link to AShinyRay's channel. Please leave a comment as well. We do read all of them. So this is the end of the podcast. Thanks again to Robin Beanland for spending some of his precious time with us. And thank you for listening. Till next time.
Take care, guys.
All right. That's great.